I, 29F, run a bakery business that I've built from the ground up during the past 5 years. It started as a hobby during college, but now it's a registered business with steady clients, a dedicated workspace, and consistent orders during each month. I do mostly for weddings, birthdays, and other events. I take a lot of pride in what I do, and it's not just baking for fun anymore. This is my livelihood. My sister-in-law, 33F, is getting married at the beginning of June. She's my wife's older sister. We're on friendly terms, but she's always had this vibe like she doesn't really take what I do seriously. She's made comments like, "It must be nice getting to play in the kitchen all day," or, "You're lucky people will pay for something they could probably learn on YouTube." Always with a smile, like it's a joke but not really. I've brushed these comments off in the past, since they weren't happening all the time and I just didn't want to stir up any drama. So earlier this month, she asked if I'd make her wedding cake. I said sure and asked what she had in mind. She sent over inspo pics of a 4-tier cake with smooth buttercream, floral piping, and real flowers on top and cascading down one side. She wanted it to be a chocolate sponge with raspberry filling in terms of taste. Plus, she wanted for me to deliver to the venue myself on the morning of the wedding rather than picking it up the day before herself. After we got done discussing everything, I gave her a quote over the phone with a generous family discount, and sister-in-law replied almost instantly that she didn't think I'd be charging her and the cake would essentially be a wedding gift. I told her that I don't typically do wedding cakes as gifts because of how much time and work they take, but I'd be happy to buy her something from her registry instead or still make the cake at the discounted price if she wanted. She wasn't happy. Said I was being transactional and that it was just a cake and I clearly didn't want to be part of her special day before hanging up on me. To be clear, I have made cakes for free before. But those were small, simple ones for people I care about, or for friends who were going through a rough time. This isn't that my sister-in-law and her fiancé can pay for the cake, and it's not like she's exactly respected my work in the past. Meanwhile, sister-in-law has been telling anyone who will listen that I'm making her big day about myself and trying to profit off her happiness. Seriously. My mother-in-law called and she didn't really ask how I felt or try to understand where I was coming from. She just seemed overwhelmed and kind of desperate to stop this from turning into a bigger family fight. She kept going on about how stressed my sister-in-law was and how she was being a bit much, but basically begged me to reconsider. My wife is completely on my side and has told her mom to stop trying to smooth things over at my expense, but even she admitted she sorta wishes I'd just said yes to avoid the fallout. Comment 1. NTA. People have no idea how much time, effort and talent something like this takes. She devalues your work. Stick to your guns. Let her say whatever she wants. The people who agree with her are uninformed. But most people will see that she's being ridiculous. Especially if you let them know how much money and time the cake she's asking for would take. If the other guests aren't paying at least that much money on the bride's wedding gift and spending at least that much time on the bride's wedding gift, they don't have a leg to stand on. Good luck. Comment 2. NTA people seriously underestimate the time, skill and effort that goes into custom work like that. She's not entitled to your talent for free and anyone siding with her clearly doesn't get it. Stick to your worth. The real ones will understand. Comment 3. I will absolutely never understand why PPF think wedding cakes are easy or cheap. It's incredibly time-consuming and not cheap. At the absolute very least you should pay for all the ingredients. That's just so ducking rude. NTA, Story 2, explaining to my future sister-in-law why her kids will never receive anything from us. I, 27F, have a brother, 33M, who has been dating his girlfriend Sarah for 2 years and he proposed a couple of months ago. Sarah has 2 kids from her previous relationship, 8M and 6F. I would say that my parents and I are not very close to Sarah and her kids, but we are cordial and never had any problems before. My partner, Bro and Sarah attended the Easter dinner at my parents' and that's when the drama happened. Sarah's kids were at their father's, so Sarah used this celebration to confront us about my brother requesting a prenup. Basically, my brother explained to her that he expects them to sign a prenup and that only his biological kids will have the right to inherit anything from our family assets. This is something that we as a family discussed before, and we all agree that only our children should receive assets or money from our inheritance. My brother is free to pay whatever he wants for his stepchildren out of his own money, but my children and his bio-children will never have to share anything that our family has with them. Sarah claimed that we are being unfair and that we are treating her and her kids like some strangers instead of embracing them like family. She said that the normal and decent thing to do was for us to see her kids like my brother's kids, who should have equal rights to any children they may have together. I told her sure, after she gets married to my brother she will become our in-law and her kids will be my brother's stepchildren, but this does not mean we have to share anything with them. I asked her, will my future kids receive anything from her parents or from their bio-father's parents? She said no, obviously, so I asked her, then why would her kids be entitled to receive anything from us? Sarah said because they will be our family, so I told her that we have plenty of cousins that are also family, but I don't go around wishing to share my inheritance with them. There was a lot more back and forth between us and Sarah was not letting this go. My brother asked her to stop because we were there to celebrate Easter, not to have this kind of conversation, but she kept on going, saying we need to clarify it once and for all. I told her from where we stand everything is clear and it is only her who has a problem. She said we are greedy and cruel to some kids and I snapped. I told her to deal with it. She is free to work her ass off and gather assets to leave to her children, but we will never divide anything outside of our family and she should not expect her children to be our problem or burden to finance. I honestly feel she is very manipulative and is using my brother for what she and her kids can get from him, but that's my brother's problem to decide if this is the kind of partner he wants. I just want to know if I was too blunt in telling her the truth. Comment 1. Since you're talking about inheritance from your parents, what you've all decided previously and all want to continue is certainly up to you. Your brother having a prenup and a detailed will is a good idea. Since she brought it up and wouldn't let it drop, NTA. But your title is suggestive of more than that. You'll still give gifts to her kids the same as their kids if they have them, right? You're not going to be obvious they are second-class citizens, right? OP comment. Of course, we are not monsters and we don't dislike her kids or consider them second-class citizens. Even now when they don't have bio kids together, of course we give the kids gifts for their birthdays, Christmas, etc. What my title mentions only applies to inheritance like assets, money, etc. Comment 2. NTA. She kept pushing for something her children are not entitled to. A lot of inheritances are set up where only descendants inherit anything. Sarah is out of line for making this an issue. If your brother doesn't get a prenup, he will definitely regret it if they split. Story 3. Choosing my roommate's business over a big family reunion after how my family acted. About 3 years ago, I left my ex. He wasn't a horrible guy or anything, but I was unhappy. He was obsessed with a video game and did some weird things on it. We had a dead bedroom and he wouldn't work on it, and we just shifted into roommates really. I didn't have enough saved for my own place, but I knew if I didn't leave I'd end up stuck. I'd asked members of my family if I could stay with them until I had things figured out and had a plan for roughly 1 month, up to 2 months. They all declined, so I lived in my car for a while. My family is big on pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, no handouts, accept the consequences of your choices, etc., so I was not surprised. I did not have local friends to ask. Thankfully, after a few months, my high school friend Penny moved back to town and invited me to be her roommate, and that's where I am now. Now for the conflict, lol. My mom asked me what I was doing in August because they were trying to get everyone to Florida for a family reunion. They had made reservations and things under the assumption I'd go. A while ago, Penny asked me if I could help her out at her craft fairs this year. She does 10 to 15 of them and it's a big to-do. She sells gorgeous jewelry and ceramics. I gladly accepted. I told my mom that I had plans over the summer and wouldn't be able to come. She got angry with me and asked me what plans could be better than a trip to Florida. I explained what I'd be doing, and she scoffed. She told me that this was probably the last time we'd all get to be with some of the older family. She said I have no sense of familial obligation. Suddenly there's a family obligation for me to pay to travel to Florida and spend time with people who wouldn't even help me out when I needed it. I went to family dinners where at the end of the night I'd leave and go sleep in my car in the Walmart parking lot and nobody blinked. I brought that up to my mom and she immediately said that my own bad choices are why I ended up living in my car and they were not required to coddle me as a grown woman. I said it goes both ways. She said I was being a petty brat. I ended the call. My sister later called me about it and asked me what my problem was and why I'm still holding ancient grudges against the rest of them and how this trip was supposed to be a big reset for the family. I do know that there are a few members of my family I probably won't see again if I don't go. This is the main reason I wonder if I'm just holding on to hurt or if it's justified for me to do this. Comment 1. Tell her, a vacation at this time is a financially poor decision, and you have no inclination to make another bad decision where you may need help and cannot count on family. This trip is not something that you budgeted for, it was sprung on you at the last minute, without even asking if it was feasible for you, and you have prior commitments. Comment 2. Mom, you are a petty brat. You make bad choices. We are not going to support you during setbacks. We have no desire to be a part of your life. Also, Mom, family is important. Superficial interactions are a high priority. You are going to make me look bad to my relatives if you don't show up and play your assigned role. Story 4. I didn't give my coworker a custom baby gift. I have a side hobby making custom baby chalkboards, the kind where you fill in monthly information about height, weight, number of teeth, things they love, milestones, favorites, etc. I have given one away as a gift to a coworker last fall for her first baby, and I've got another coworker who is due with her first child in about 2 months. Coworker, Grace, knows about the baby boards, has commented on their cuteness, and also knew about the gifted one I made for our coworker. I kindly asked her a few months ago if she would like me to make a custom one as a gift for her child due early this summer, and she said yes. Today, I found out that Grace recently had a baby shower that coworkers were invited to. I didn't get an invite. This was talked about in public at the workplace today. At lunch, multiple women were talking about a baby name/guessing game they had played with her, and I jokingly said, "Oh, was there a name guessing sheet that I missed out on?" Not knowing about the shower. A few of the ladies kinda looked away and didn't say anything, but Grace said nonchalantly, "Oh, it wasn't something everyone was invited to, and I didn't think you'd want to come." I kinda laughed and brushed it off, but inside I was a bit hurt as I have a pretty good working relationship with her and definitely would have attended if I was invited/available. I'm now unsure if I should make her a custom baby board when I wasn't invited to the shower. I've brought it up with my husband, and he thinks I shouldn't make one unless she expressly asks me about it again. My friend's opinion? NTA. I used to crochet baby blankets for my coworkers until I found out I wasn't invited to any of the showers. I stopped. Don't put your effort into people who don't appreciate you as a person. My opinion. Smile cheerily and say, "Oh sorry Grace, I only make those for shower gifts. You know how it is." And go about your day. NTA. Extra, cancelling our date because she was 15 minutes late? I connected with someone on a dating app, and after a while of texting we agreed to a restaurant date as our first time meeting in real life. To clarify, in my profile I have listed people not being on time as my biggest red flag. In our chat I talked about how punctuality is a really important virtue to me, and when we planned the date I specifically told her to text me should something come up or if there are any delays. Come the time and day of the date and she isn't there. I wait and check my phone and she hadn't texted me anything. She finally arrives 15 minutes late. She greets me but doesn't even apologize for being late. I ask her why she was late. She shrugs and says that taking ready just took longer than expected. I ask her if before she drove here she already knew she wouldn't make it in time. She says yes. I ask her why she didn't text me. She said she didn't because she was only a little late, and started looking visibly annoyed. At that point I excused myself, said our values don't align and left her there. She proceeded to shout after me and blew up my phone before I unmatched her when I got home. I just have absolutely zero tolerance for not being on time without good reason, especially when you don't even communicate it properly or aren't even sorry about it, and I know my standards are harsh, but I feel like I was very open about it and gave plenty of warnings. Random person replied. NTA, now I would usually say this is an overreaction, but in your case where it's listed on your profile, you had a conversation regarding lateness before the date and you explained how you would like someone to respond if they are late and she just ignored that. Honestly, wouldn't even be the lateness that bothered me but the lack of respect.